All right, welcome back, everyone. Quick change of location, but we're gonna get started here. Let me get make sure everyone's getting in here properly. You got the link yet over there, by chance? Yeah. All right. So we're into the afternoon now. Obviously, we've got it's 11:30 here in Phoenix. So we got what, time does the market close here? 2 o'clock. All right, we got 2.5 hours, right? Is that right? Still disoriented. We got 2.5 hours left. Friday afternoons, generally speaking, I don't like to trade too often into Friday afternoons, only because the weekend's coming up. You know, one of the luxuries of what we do is the fact that if I don't want to, I don't have to worry about anything over the weekend. You know. Let's see here. Okay. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get into just a little bit of afternoon process quickly, probably 10-15 minutes. Then we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna switch up, change gears and just go into lessons for the rest of the day, as opposed to live trading. We've had some little bit of change in the scan since I left. Since we had the morning Yuta, I never even saw, and that's why, because did we see Yuta before I left? We did, right? It had just started spiking when we left. Yeah, so when we took our break, Yuta was right here, right? Pulled. It's doing its little thing now, you know? Maybe it squeezes, maybe not. And getting back to what the theme of this whole boot camp, man, which is there may be a potential trade here, all right? It may squeeze. In which case, when I'm looking at this, if I'm trying to get in it, yeah, we got to work off lows, okay? So we got 210, some clear support there, you know, push decently off 210, nice 2 hold. VWAP hold to 270, back to VWAP hold, couple pulls through VWAP, so it's messing with VWAP right now. 220 area, 210, you know, if I was trying to kind of bring this into the afternoon, thinking we may get high a day or something like that, would be the idea, okay? But you got to zoom out, look at the daily chart. It went from 190 to 340 to 2 just 4 days ago. Volume wasn't great. It's only like 3 mil volume, you know. We've already done double that today. So daily chart's okay. Looks like a recent either uplisting or SPAC merger, one of the two. Big fade, already had kind of a push. No real volume though, all right? Clear resistance in the 3s. That's what I look at on the daily chart for now. 1 minute chart is okay. Risk would have to be lows, okay? 190 to 210, this sort of area. And I can tell you that would be super unreliable for me. You know, it's kind of a dice roll as to whether or not this is going to hold up and that support's going to hold. It could. But even in this scenario, so say I really want to be long, you know, the way I look at it would be 220, 210 risk, this area. All right, so I got to get an entry somewhere in here, near lows, near support. 270 high a day, you know, 260, 270 area would be kind of conservative. So when we're at 240, I'm risking 220, 245 now, when we're talking about chasing and stuff like that. A lot of people get excited because it's over VWAP, like I said. I would much rather be buying under VWAP in this scenario because I'd much rather be buying near 220s, like near support. As this spikes, 243, 244, okay? Back in the day, my understanding of risk, first of all, we've got a couple things going on. We got a little downtrend that's breaking, and that's some of the momentum we're seeing. That's converging with like VWAP, you know, all the indicators people use, right? I'm not trading the break of to the upside of a downtrend most of the time. Anyways, point being, at 245, I got about 25 cents upside. You know, 30 cents upside maybe. 25 cents upside, 25 cents downside, right? One to one. Does that make sense? 1 to 1 is what I would deem this to be if I'm trying to buy it here. You know what I mean? And it keeps it really simple for me. It means that I have to be patient if I want to buy this. And then that being said, if it gets back down there later, I don't know how I'll feel about it. Not always, you know, these levels change for me over time throughout the course of the day. The point that I am trying to make is even when these go, even when I'm trying to play a dip, you know, higher lows and stuff like that, I get stopped out a lot. I just do. You know, it's especially a day like today, obviously, with markets like today. You know, if we were doing this in January, I'd hardly be talking because I'd only be trading. You know what I mean? For the most part. If that was January, February, I would be, we would just literally be day trading all day together because that's what I was doing back then. This was paying me to do that. Today, if I tried to do that, it would not pay me. You know what I mean? It would be the opposite. It's all about adaptation. So just one boot camp, you know, just watching this, you're not even gonna get like, you're gonna get a good idea of when I do this, that's what I try to do. I try to put everything I do in a nut into like a small package that's kind of easy to accept, you know, and hopefully help change perspective. But it's just such a small portion of time, okay? Today I trade like this. On Monday, I'll tell you this much. On Monday morning, unless something changes this afternoon, I'll likely trade like this, which is singles mode, stay safe, that sort of thing. If something changes, we get a run on Monday. By Tuesday, I can be full bore, full size again. You know, and that's been my goal, especially this year, is to be able to pump the brakes, get all the way down to minimum size, and then be able to get all the way to max size, you know, at the drop of a dime. So I can take advantage of the ebbs and flows of what we're going to have this year, what I was kind of predicting earlier in the year, which is pockets of momentum, pockets of weakness, you know, kind of a up and down sort of choppy, tentative year in the overall markets, maybe some more downside. So the key is for me this year is trying to just take advantage when we get good momentum, and then be able to dial it way back day to day if need be. So nice run from Utah. It's up a lot in a market where we haven't seen anything up a lot today. Box D, what's CZoo? Kazoo Group. Recent split. 1 for 20. They did a 1 for 20 split back on the 13th. 12th, 11th, the 9th. Still a bigger float though. Fade for a long time, longer than I normally would play these. Here's the reverse split pump that everyone was trying to play, you know. Failed at 350. Now we have a double bottom on the daily and a push. I don't know if there's news. Not since March 7th. Kazoo's original GPU hits 900, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's go through these tickers really quick. VIX is obviously 10x is, what is 10x doing? What did I just do here? Really beaten down on 10x post split. Nice push on 10x. Holy shit. Nice. Nice push. I guess my question would be, because I kind of ignored this earlier, their float can't be 2. Two, 3. February 1st, a patent. Interesting. Really weird, really sketchy looking chart to me, you know? The other issue I have with something like 10X, you go to a daily chart, all right? First of all, the daily chart is fugly, super ugly, you know? Really ugly, okay? Just going back in time. This concerns me, this big gap up day in slam. And this, more importantly, concerns me because this was just a few days ago, you know? About 30 mil in volume that day. It did gap up from 68 to 78, but then went down to 46. So, kind of telling me not to buy strength on this, but also a daily chart that's really beaten down and could possibly try to kind of push towards a buck next week. I could see that happening. I could see it also getting stuffed anywhere here in the 60s, and you know, I don't mind missing stuff like this, especially on tickers that I have a personal bias against just from trading it over the years. Still a nice little push there on 10X. There wasn't much out there this morning, like I said. Let's check on UNCY, our breakout for the day. Probably the strongest ticker for the day, too, this morning. We had that push. We had the push. It got actually to 285, okay? And then that little uptrend from the morning broke down here. You can see that, but you got VWAP underneath, and you got support, which is why I don't like trading lines like this. I just put them up there for reference as moves are going. And you can see it was holding trend. Just of note, when I do get trend, the steeper that trend is, you know, the sketchier it is. Obviously, the faster it's moving. You know, the faster it's making its move, the more parabolic it's going. When those trends break down, it can get kind of nasty. It can get kind of ugly when that intermediate short-term trend breaks down. So I keep eyes on it, is all I'm saying. There are times where I'll take some shares off if the trend breaks too, you know, just to lock some in as well. Can everyone hear me all right, by the way, at home? The new mic, I'm not sure how it sounds. What's that? Good. Tricky chart, but I've made a resolution to not trade breakouts for the rest of the month. So I'm, you know, this is a breakout. You got to look at the daily. I don't care about the fucking intraday, you know? I try to not care. If I start looking at an intraday, I'll find entries. You can find an entry anywhere, you know what I mean? And I try to avoid that by not looking. Oh no, it's Tanner's long from like a buck. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at 250. 109. I won't buy Tim Bertani shorts. Okay, boom. Right. Obviously Alpha Wolves, where there's no trader therapy today, because we've been live for the last like 2 days straight. What, any other tickers you guys want me to look at before we kind of move past charts and stuff like that?
What about AMAM?
AMAM?
AMAM.
Crazy chart. That's a crazy ass chart, huh? I mean, I'm not gonna buy it. You know, I don't buy this stuff once it's already done all this stuff. You know, it already broke out at 5. It already broke out at 750. Maybe it breaks out at 13 next week. I don't know. I don't really care, you know. Shorts are chomping at the bit on this. That's why it went from 7 to 13. So I'd imagine it could potentially squeeze again. But for me, it doesn't matter because the downside's too great if something were to happen and I'm long overnight trying to buy it. You know what I mean?
So you want to see the big picture.
Big picture, you know? Intraday is an intraday, you know? And you have to zoom out, essentially. The further back you go and the bigger time frames you use, the more clear everything becomes. You know what I mean? And I talk about that all the time too. A 1 minute chart in the morning, you may think it's not extended because it's pulled back a couple times and pushed, but you go to a 5 minute chart or a 15 minute chart and it is just green candles to the point where, like, if those were 1 minute candles and you were watching it, you would clearly not buy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if you're not profitable, a lot of people have understood you don't just buy at the very, you know, a lot of people will still do it, but you know what I'm trying to say? It's like, when I see that, you know, it may be attractive on a 1 minute time frame. Make sure you zoom out because it may be super extended on the 5 or 15 minute, 10, 20 green candles, you know what I mean? Where it's like, there's bound to be a pullback. So that's important. Zoom out, always get macro on it. All my trading starts there, all right? Process starts there for me, macro. What are the overall markets doing? What has small cap been doing? And then I start to whittle my way down and through the maze to find the tickers. But I get to those tickers with preset expectation based on macro stuff. You know what I mean? We all get sucked into the charts. We all get sucked into minute time frames, me, myself included. So I always have to remind myself, zoom the fuck out, dude. Chill out, zoom out, make sure that you're not chasing, make sure it's not extended on other time frames. There are a ton of people who are only trading 5 minute candles. You know what I mean? There are a ton of people who will trade 15 minute candles.
And you have bought like
Which one?
next. And morning, like after 11.
I can tell you that this morning, I likely wouldn't have traded anything. I didn't trade anything. I had made up my mind to not trade anything when I looked at my scan. Does that make sense? I was open to the idea of finding a trade. Totally open. I wanted to trade. I wanted a single, anything. Maybe UNCY was the best opportunity, I think, for giving me levels that I can use risk reward. But I've also made a resolution not buy any fucking breakouts for the rest of the month. If I can't do that, then I know I can do that. That's my goal. Rest of March, no breakouts. The only exception to that this month will be if we just start seeing a shit ton of breakouts. That's the only exception. I won't be stubborn. I don't give it. It's not a pride thing. I'm just trying to perform. I'm trying to trade what's volatile and make the most money that I can on every given day. And lose the least that I can on any given day when I'm losing. So yeah, you know, that was kind of my favorite one. I didn't trade it. I didn't want to trade breakouts right now. I didn't want to trade a breakout today with the markets taking a dump over the last couple days, especially. It's just a formula for me that's worked over time, keeps me safe. And then if I'm being too safe, my formula tells me that too. And then it's like, okay, I got to open back up. You know, if I'm being too safe, then I'll start doing other things. Like I said, next week, Monday, we see just massive breakouts for some reason. You're going to see me play breakouts on Tuesday because, okay, I'm trying to be disciplined, yes, and not play breakouts this month. But if that is what's running, my job is to find what's running and then capitalize while that's there. And I could play breakouts. You know what I mean? When breakouts work, 2020 breakouts, man, when those work, those were amazing breakouts, okay? So I'm not saying I hate them all the time every day, but as a rule of thumb, and especially over the last year and a half, I hate them, okay? I haven't had any really, really great ones for the most part. Any breakouts I've taken part in have been from swings from way lower, which I also still like better. All right. Does that make sense? We can't be too stubborn either, you know? Still just UNCY at the moment. Let's check on SPY. Give it a little whirl. For my peeps at home, we're going to be doing a Q&A. We're going to be doing a Q&A at the end, okay? So at some point, we're going to open it up to Q&A. Everyone can ask questions in the free chat. That's how that'll work. And so if you have questions that you're thinking of, you know, throughout this whole process for the next, we got about 2.5 hours left together. I have the room for 3 more hours. Write them down, okay? Because we are going to switch gears here in a second. And then just a quick poll for the people who are streaming. If there's anything particular that you guys want me to address, now's the time, so I can kind of plan my time around what's going to go down for the next couple hours. So if everyone doesn't mind, just hit me with your most pressing subject matter that you'd like me to touch upon, and I'll kind of get a consensus. And then if I like what you guys say, then I'll do it. And if not, then I'll just do what I want to do. Just kidding. So if you don't mind and you want to, hit me with the area you're struggling with most. And I'll try to kind of cater the rest of the next couple hours around that. The live trading for me is pretty much done for the day. All right. We're going to look again into Power Hour here when we got about an hour left here. So in about an hour, we will get back to the charts again, the scans, go through afternoon process. Again, most of the time Fridays, not so much for me, but. SPY is just unraveling, guys. Look at this. Look at SPY. God damn. Dude. So you got to listen to the markets, you know? I mean, Utah, we have a couple random runners, but I will. You know what? Let's yeah. At SPY?
Yeah, on the SPY.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, so it's already broken the other trend down. I mean, this is
Yep.
massive dough.
It's not good. I'm super glad I closed everything. That's what I mean. I learned that last year. I learned that in 2022 because I was doing quite a bit more swing trading and some other ideas. I just saw everything die with SPY when it died. Everything, you know. It wasn't like years past for me. It's a little bit different this year, starting last year. But it makes sense, man. You know, I always talk about small cap really being kind of the pulse of the markets. That's what I think, at least. I always found that small cap, you would see like volume dry up in small cap before we saw panics in SPY, or before, you know, we had bad days, you know, in the markets like we do now. That's something that was prevalent, you know.
Me personally, I always look for these major pullbacks. I'm always looking for short covering. Where they going to start?
Yep. Hey Tanner, can you take some of these questions? I asked him to just pose some questions just so I can get an idea of what everyone wants into the afternoon. Could you just copy paste them onto maybe a list, and then we'll just rapid fire go through some of those later too? Okay, you guys, we're gonna take like a 5-minute break here while I get set up to teach some lessons on the whiteboard behind me. We're gonna get into like classroom shit now, so just give me a minute. The stream will keep going. I'll hit you with something else in the meanwhile until we're all set up. Yeah, really fast, like as fast as I've ever done it. And then in the meantime, while I'm just getting my camera set up, I'll just stream a couple students for you. Let's see. Let's get these guys going. Okay. I gotta turn this thing up. Yeah. Hopefully it's not too damn loud. I don't know if that's working or not. Let's see, audio output capture, boom. Heather and kind of knew what was going on. Both these guys have made 6 figures trading, which is pretty phenomenal. Is that all right, you guys? Worked with them varying levels of time. Tony's kind of a new cat who I didn't know about. He made 6 figures from watching my guy pretty much, and some of the webinars from pretty crazy to me. Anyways, just a quick Q&A because we're all at different stages in trading. So if you guys have any questions for them, I'm gonna fill up my water, and we'll just kind of spend the next 20 minutes or so until you guys are done asking questions.
You can go first, bro. I'm grab my coffee.
Hey, just start with your story. Just give them your background. That's it. Start there because you have different backgrounds and different stories.
All right. I started dabbling in trading maybe 2016, 2017. I didn't know anything I was doing. I downloaded Robinhood, bought random stuff, Snapchat, Twitter, stocks like that, and just hoped really. I had downloaded Stock Twits, looked at there was a little section which said, the most popular names of the day, and I was like, oh, this is cheap. It was at $1 a year ago. It'll go back. I ended up bag holding biotech for 2 years. I lost maybe $4K. And then 2019, I started really studying. I was sick of my job. I wanted to get away. I had seen some of the, I came across Sykes, the Warrior Trading, Investors Underground. I found Roland through Sykes. I tested out Tim Alerts, all that stuff, some other services here and there. And started just going full force in 2020. I stopped working, pandemic came, and for a brief period of time, and they offered me to go back to work, and I said no. Not because I was making money, but we were fortunate enough to have saved up some cushion, and my wife was, brave enough to let me go for it, and I basically took all of 2020 just to get screen time and test things out and really go for it. And I started to become profitable December of 2020 and January of 2021. I was able to make some money. Nothing crazy. I think between those 3 months I made maybe 15K. But to me, I was just like, this is awesome. This is great. March, April came along. I made less. I had to adjust. That run was basically over. and I adjusted, and I started grinding back up slowly. As I got more comfortable, I would tack on a little bit more size. I get comfortable with that size, I tack on a little bit more. 2020, I made like 45K. No, 2021, I made 45K. 2020, I made like 3. This year, I'm at 94.
Nice.
And that's about it. I joined Roland's 1K payday at the time in September of 2020. And what I was telling him earlier, you know, the patterns were great, all of that was great. But what really stuck to me and stuck out to me and really impacted me was that when he went over his process. That changed, you know, it changed a lot. It made me realize, okay, I gotta have my own process. I gotta figure out what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. I gotta let the markets dictate if I'm gonna be aggressive or not. It changed a lot of things for me. And that's it. You know, I was happy to join this Discord group now. You know, I'm happy to trade alongside, you know, him and everyone that's in there, and meeting all you guys. Pretty cool too.
Nice, man.
So I started back trading in 2017. I started first with Sykes, just like Roland. And you guys know he doesn't really have like structure in his things. Everything was all over the place. And then in one of the sector move, I think the shipper, I saw Roland, like he nailed it. I was like, oh. I started to follow Roland. And then I think I joined him around 2019, like at the end of 2019. I started to see like his process, just like Tony, like his process, his entries, where to get long, where not, and that really like stick to me. So I was like, oh, okay, I like how this guy trade. So in 2020, like that my whole thing turned around. So I was down like minus 4K from 2017 to 2020. Like 2019, at the end of 2019, and in 2020, because I started to follow like the process and the entries Roland was always talk about, like the thing shift for me. So like for the whole 2020, I went from minus 4K to like 30K, and then the next year from 30K to like 100 something K. Yeah, I'm just like that, and now I can be like profitable, I think. Yeah, that's pretty much for me.
Yeah, so just if you guys have any questions, like I said, they're at different parts of their journeys and been through different things. So if you have any questions for them,
So you're pretty
we'll just open it up.
long bias?
Oh yeah, I just know.
You're long bias.
I'm long.
You're long.
It's long life. Yeah, and like Roland's like the only guy I know like he gets to like 1 million to just buy long. So yeah.
So did you guys learn shorting to become better long bias traders or no?
Don't even show
Like,
it.
I
You know
started
the
to short
concept.
it now. Yeah, but I know the concept, but like I don't short.
Okay.
But I started like to start to short like a bit. So.
Can you guys touch on like because I'm sure at some point you guys must have been hitting some kind of a setback, like in your journey to six-figure traders. Like, can you touch on individually, like what set you back and how you overcame it? Because I feel like a lot of us are stuck in phases where we're trying to get past these humps.
Yeah, what I ended up doing late 2020 is I had that whole year of trades under my belt. And I went back, and it took forever, but I went back and I journaled and I labeled every single one of my trades, all of them. It took a long time, but and that was a big eye opener for me because it allowed me to see where I was making money, and where I wasn't. And once I found that out, it gave me something to work with. Okay, I was like, all right, so I'm making money here, but I keep losing on, honestly, first green days. Every time. So that told me, okay, I'm just gonna stay away. You know, I seem to be pretty good at sympathies, you know, bounce plays. So let me focus my energy there. Every now and then, I'll get sucked up into the hype of things, and then I'll go for that first green day, and maybe I'll make some money. Most of the time, no. I'll end up getting chopped out of it. But that was a big change. And once I found that out, I just stuck to it, trying to refine and get better at those strengths. And yeah, there's times where, you know, I'll hit a wall and I'll be flat for a while, a month, maybe a couple weeks. But really those times are really what tests your limits, what tests your discipline, and lets you refine your mistakes and what your weaknesses. And if you're on a spike straight up all the time, that'll never test your weaknesses. But during the slow times, during the times where you're struggling, that's where you can figure that stuff out. And then you'll see, and then you figure that stuff out, and then you'll break back out and you're feeling over. And then you'll hit another wall, you know, and that's okay. You'll figure that stuff out, and then you'll just keep going. And then when you look back, that first wall that you hit that felt so detrimental, like, I suck at trading, I'm never gonna get good at this, feels insignificant, you know. So that second or third wall, it gives you a little bit more confidence. Okay, I'll get back. And it's just progressive, it just keeps going. But that's the way I see it. Just gotta treat those struggling moments as opportunities to refine and learn about yourself and the way you trade.
Great answer. Look at me. I'm like however many years in. You guys are here to see me. I've been struggling this year at certain times. I hit walls all year long, you know, and I'd take 5 steps forward and then hit a wall. So it's perfect. Those are opportunities to grow totally as a trader and figure out, because why is there a wall there? What's the wall? You know, is it you? It's usually you.
Can both of you touch on your risk management strategies? Like, did you guys struggle to cut, losses when you should? And then if you did, then how did you overcome that?
Phil, you want to?
So as I was saying, I was in a drawdown like for 3 years, so like minus 4K. But because at first I was like just following alerts, and I don't know, just because the hype was there, I want to trade, I want to get in the trade. But like I didn't have like any like patterns or anything that like any reason I want to trade. Just like I just wanted to trade because of the money, I think. So and then until I find out that okay, I need to track my pattern, I need to track my trades, and so you guys have to track your trades. That's very like important. So after you track your trades, you have to review it like every week. That's what I do. I track my trades. I write my my journal. I journal that. I write my thing. How was the trade? What I did good. What I did bad. And then review my trade at the end of the week. And see like where are my like weak left. Where's my strength? What I'm doing right. What I'm doing wrong. And just cut the thing that I'm doing wrong. And keep doing what I'm doing right. And also like fix anything. Like if the pattern is working, but I got stopped out before. Maybe it's like the level I'm using is not right, or like I got in before. I don't know, patient things, I guess. For the risk part, I used to like not cut losses either, and I figured that out after I tracked my trades. I was losing too much, and then I found like Roland. Roland is quick cutting losses. He have like he just like the exact relevant levels on the chart and cut the loss if the trade touched that point. And that's how I cut. And just get used to it, like just cut. Just do it. The practice, I guess. And yeah, that's it for me. Same.
Yeah, risk-wise, at first I had some trouble cutting the losses or admitting to be wrong because, and it really got, this was when I was under PDT. I had a cash account. I had 10K, and I would use 5K every day, and that kind of got to me because, okay, if I let this go, if I take this loss, that's money I can't use in the next trade. Same thing maybe if you're under PDT, that, you know, cutting, I've gotten better at noticing what levels to use as risk as well, and then how much I risk depending on strategies. So that'll change as the market changes, but usually I'll risk more like on sector plays, sympathy plays. I've emptied my entire account into certain plays on sympathies that I know will go, and I'll just risk more. But I've gotten a lot better at just cutting because if I want to get back in, I'll just get back in. But at first, that does play. It played a lot of mental games with me. The commissions, the not being able to use that money again, or losing that day trade.
Did you guys use like a percentage of your account size that you would risk? Like, you know, some people say 1% of their account is risk.
I
Or
did.
half a percent, no?
I did like 0.5% account.
I mostly just started with risking 10, 20 bucks a trade, and kind of just went from there.
What else? Anything else, guys? Questions?
Well, what are some patterns that you guys use, and what patterns do not work for you?
I like sector and sympathy plays. Those are my favorite. It hasn't been as fruitful this year, except for the oil run, the cybersecurity plays. I made some good money on the fresh IPO moves earlier this year. Those are my bread and butter. I've made the most on that. I like multi-day setups, and I like bounce plays. Those are my favorite. I stay away from first green days just because I suck at them. But Phil here is good at them, so
Yeah.
I gotta talk to him more. Yeah.
I like first green day, and I also like breakout. Yeah.
It's okay. Like I said, everyone, if you're good at breakouts, because there are people who are good at breakouts, that's good for you. I fucking hate them. But I hate them, you know?
So you guys wash, rinse, and repeat your same thing, right? You don't veer away from your thing?
Not really. Sometimes I will. Sometimes I'll take a shot at an OTC, or, you know.
Your preference is listed?
If you have an edge, focus on your edge.
What about with scans, guys? How do you go about your scans? Like, what's your process during the day, like midday? You focus on like after like 1 o'clock, or like just power hours? Like, what's your take on that?
So for like breakout, right, you have to wait for the first day, like first green day, to push with volume, and then keep that on your watch and see how it plays out.
Okay.
If it consolidates near the high, and then if something pops up with volume or news, that can be a play.
Do you care about midday, or you just you don't touch
I
it?
usually don't play midday.
So you just let it play out in the morning, and then check it in the afternoon, like you
Yeah.
don't. Okay.
Yeah, I'll my process usually is any of the top percent gainers or runners of the day, I'll slap them on my watch list, and I usually have a pretty long list of that. And then at nighttime, I'll go over that whole watch list, and I'll see what's been holding up, you know, what looks good, what might bounce. There's a specific sector that's moving, and I'll go through that list every single night. That way I'm prepared in the morning. Now I have to wake up so early. In the morning, I'll watch the top percent gainers of that day. I'll watch the gappers, but just to watch them. I don't usually touch them, but I'll watch them. And throughout the day, anything that's popping off, I'll slap on my watch list as well. Because sometimes they'll pop and they won't do anything after, but 2-3 days later, if they held up, I might make another move. So I'll try to keep those on watch, and I just do that every day. End of the day, I always spend about an hour at night, and I'll go through my whole watch list.
Do you trade after hours since you trade listed, or?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I used to try it, but when it's hot, when it's really hot, yeah, I would. There's some good opportunities, yeah.
It's like turbo.
But usually not.
Was there a point, like in your career, where you just felt really comfortable? I mean, for me, I'm profitable, but I'm doing really well, and then, I hit a roadblock, and then it almost feels like starting from scratch. Not really, but it goes in these cycles.
Oh yeah.
Does it go over at some point? Where you're just like so set in your mind that it doesn't bother you anymore, right? It's just like basically you took all the emotions out.
Yeah, just get used to it. Like
Yeah.
it will happen.
Can you hear me? Boom, boom. Okay. Let's see. Let me get one more thing. Make sure these filters are good. Cutting in and out. With echo. Either way, regardless if you're having struggles with the stream or not, it's going to be pretty much immediately put on YouTube for you guys to watch. So, and it'll be on the site too, I believe. Once we're done with it, we'll have it uploaded on the site for everyone. So, let me know. Slight echo. I mean, there's an echo in the room. What's that? I know. Yeah, I can turn it up too. Is that better? Can you guys hear me? We're about to switch over here. I don't want it to be too loud. I don't want to be. Just let me know. Because we got some stuff to do. Cool. Cool. Run it. Nice. What is that all about? I wonder if it's a noise gate or something?
It's going to 3:30.
Huh?
Just try it.
You guys?
Yeah, you're
degenerates. Okay. It might be this noise gate, I bet. so if at any point, Tanner, if at any point they can't hear me, just let me know, and we'll mess with the mic. If you guys need anything at home, let me know.
I won't know for like 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
To that one, just the same.
All right. Same as every boot camp, we're gonna do process really fast. Okay, we're gonna go through process, especially for people at home who don't know what I do. What's process? For me, it's kind of the A to Z of what I do every day. Process encompasses my thoughts all the way to execution of my trades. From the second I wake up until the second I pretty much take profits or have to cut losses. You know, what gets me to the trade, and then we'll talk through some basic trade scenarios to kind of give you a more clear picture of what I'm trying to do. So process, let's start with that. What am I doing every single day? All right. So macro first. We always talk about this. I always talk about this macro first. I want to start with the biggest picture possible, and then I want to weave my way down to the tickers. Okay. By the time I get to the stocks, I want to have set expectation and perspective for the whole day. You know, we already kind of been talking about that the whole time, but I want to set that expectation. Okay. So I have some sort of level of conviction. Like I was saying earlier, the same catalyst, different day, different market, I treat it completely differently. And that's because my process isn't just phase 2 news, I'm gonna fucking buy it. You know what I mean? Like, that's not it. There are a series of steps that get me there, and then by the time I get there, I want to also have some sort of preconceived idea from a macro perspective of how aggressive I should or shouldn't be. Right? This is all about having the correct perspective every day if I can. The worse my trading gets, generally speaking, I'm not adhering to process, or I'm doing something wrong in my process that needs to be tweaked. You know, maybe I'm not taking overall markets into account like I need to, stuff like that. So that's where it always starts, right? Overall markets. Overall markets. You see me kind of switching back and forth between SPY and stuff today. Just trying to keep an eye on what the overall markets are doing. If you go back to older boot camps, I'm like, this doesn't matter that much. And then I skip on to what was really important to me, okay? But I was talking about process, it changes. Right now, this shit's important to me. It's important to me that when SPY's panicking, I'm not like full-blown gas trying to buy stocks, right? Does that make sense? So right now, overall markets are really important to me, all right? If it's like panic, then I'm gonna be cautious, you know? I'm gonna get into like my shell mode, just be very cautious. If all is well, if it's not a panic, you know, regular bull market maybe, or a small period of bull market, you know, we're having pretty good success, then that's okay, you know? That's all I'm doing. With all of this stuff in process, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna digest it, I'm gonna try to see what I can take from that. Is it affecting everything? Right now it's affecting small caps, so I gotta, that makes sense, right? So, I have kind of a positive, negative system going, and I'm trying to balance all the positives, the pros and cons of each trade, right? And come up with my own recipe and formula to keep me safe and to try to maximize profits. You know, whichever one I need to do. Sometimes both at the same time. Overall markets, small cap. Small cap. This is where I live. This is what I know the best. This is where I make all my money. This is where everything is for me, all right? Most traders, it doesn't matter what you're trading, you're gonna find a niche. What's that? Nice catch. All right, most traders, they're gonna find a niche, all right? I think it's important to find a niche and kind of stick to it, learn as much as you can about it. For mine, small cap, that's what I know best. It's where the best opportunity lies for smaller accounts, and I just am so comfortable here, okay? But it doesn't matter what it is. You know, for me it's overall markets and small cap. For you it may be large cap stocks, mid cap stocks, blue chip stocks, options, crypto, futures, whatever the hell it is, you gotta know about it. You know, you gotta know what you're trading. in and out. And the more you know, someone just coming in, it gives you a little bit of edge over all the rest of the people, right? So a lot of people come into small cap to just freaking lottery ticket, they're looking for the one that's gonna go from $1 to $100 and they're all in on that. That's how they trade. And when it goes down, they hold or buy more. There's that, right? Those people that will never get beyond, well, not never get beyond, but if they don't know to, they won't get beyond just trying to do that, find that lottery ticket. I've been doing this a long time and been along a lot of stocks and have had periods of time where, yeah, I'm looking for it. And anytime I'm looking for it, my trading fucking struggles, man. It does. Anytime I am looking for a lottery ticket type of trade, big, huge, one type of life-changing trade, it doesn't come, and the opposite happens. Really weird, but that's how it works. It's not really weird if you think about it. Everything that we've been talking about, being contrarian, going against the grain and stuff, it all works that way too. Anytime I'm like super amped, the opposite shit happens. So I try to be chill. I try not to look at anything as like it's gonna make or break my life. It's not about this next trade, it's about the next 100 trades, and I need process involved for that to work over. That's what this whole thing is. This is designed so that the next 1,000 trades I'm profitable. Not the next trade, might lose that, don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Okay, small cap. We've got positive and negative from the overall markets. At times it doesn't affect it as much, so I'll dial this up and down. Right now this is up, okay? Small cap, most important thing to me. It's where I live, it's where I trade, it's my home, it's what I know the best. First question I always ask, runners, okay? Question mark, question mark. Are there runners? Do we even have runners in the first place? What do I mean by runners? My definition is kind of, it's not set in stone. It's not like a certain percentage gain, but 30%, what I've noticed in the weakest markets, 40% will be the max percent gainer that day. Kind of lighter volume, or even if there is volume, okay? So if there are runners, I'm gauging it, How far are they going, all right? All I want to know is, are there runners, yes or no? Yes or no, okay? If yes, I'm sorry, actually we're gonna start with no. Hold on, let me grab this eraser really quick. Just because I'm running out of room. If no, then we're back to like protection mode again. We're back to singles mode, you know what I mean? When we're talking like the gap and crap reversal we were talking about earlier, I'm just playing range, taking it off at highs. We're cool, you know what I mean? Perspective. If we don't have runners, why the fuck am I gonna just randomly have one? We don't randomly get runners, and we do, but that's what will trigger more runners, and I don't do it until I see that. You know what I mean? Especially in weak markets like this. If it's like 30% gainers every day, like I said, and I get to the market, I know yesterday's top percent gainer was 30%, and now I'm stocks gapping 50%. I like to think of it like this is gonna end the day up maybe 30%. Does that make sense? Just perspective, using yesterday's information, all right? Now, if the answer is yes, let's move here. If the answer is yes, that's great, okay? If we got 50, 60, 70, 80, 100% runners, 200%. That's what I consider runners. We have volatility, volume, stocks with range, okay? If the answer is yes, then what is running? This is like so key, because this theme right here, what is running, all right? This determines so much for me. When I'm looking for sympathy plays, sector momentum, overnights, morning gappers, which pattern I'm gonna play, this determines all of that, all right? What is running, okay? So just simple metrics. Price, what's the price range of the stock that's running? Did it go from 20 cents to $1? Did it go from 20 cents to 60 and run 200% on the day, but it's a 20 cent stock running to 60 cents, okay? That means I am looking almost exclusively for 20 cent stocks. If the runner that sparks momentum in our market is a 20 cent stock that goes to $1, I will literally take my scan and cap it at 50 cents. I don't want to see fucking anything else. Does that make sense? I need my eyes to be in the right places. And how do I get my eyes to the right places? What happened in the past? What just ran and everyone's super excited about? The volume leaks. It goes to the next one. You'll have at least a sympathy play, usually, you know? And then the strength of the macro driving whatever the leader is that's running, that will drive the rest of the plays, and whatever the strength is will determine like how great that sector or those sympathy plays may be. You know, is it just Chinese stocks day one, which we'll talk about now? Sector. So now I've got a price established if we have runners. If it's $3 biotechs running the 6, I'm looking for 3 to 4, $2.50 to like $4 biotechs. You know what I mean? Sector. All right, we just talked about that. Is there a sector that it's in? Do we have a big runner? All right, do we have a big runner in a sector? Because if it's in a sector, that will also help me narrow down where to go next to find the next play. Okay? So what's the sector? Is it biotech, like I said? Bitcoin plays, weed plays, those are kind of old news for now. AI is the theme this year so far. And AI, I believe, as of right now, I still believe that those tickers, the sector plays for AI, have only been hampered by the markets. I've been watching it, you know, as AI tried to push post earnings, SPY was pulling, you know, SPY actually had a nice green day, and then we had pull in the overall markets the next day, and same with AI. They've been kind of moving together. So is there a sector? What's the sector? All right. Catalyst. What's the catalyst? What drove that runner? What is driving runners at the moment? Okay, like I said, it's a biotech with phase news. Is it a $2 biotech that went to $10 on phase 2 FDA news? Okay, or phase 2 clinical news, or whatever it is. Phase 2 results. Okay, if that's the case, then yes, my scan, when I get to the scan the next morning, people always wonder how I pick the right stocks. This is exactly how I do it, in a very basic, and then a lot of experience, obviously, doing it. So is it that? Is it ChatGPT news? We saw that work for like 2 weeks straight. Every time ChatGPT news came out, 100% gapper, right? All right, catalyst. What else do we got? Catalyst. What is running? Price, sector, catalyst. What's the pattern? All right. When we see runners, what is that pattern? All right, are they gapping, or is it like gap and crap in the morning reversal style, where you know you're gonna get some pull and have some good opportunities and stuff like that, and it's ripping through high day, pre-market highs and stuff like that? What is the pattern? Is it primarily breakouts that are working? I don't like breakouts, but if it's breakouts that are working, my process leads me to trade breakouts, unfortunately. You know what I mean? That's all right. What's the pattern? What setups are working at any given time, because they go away. They're not always there. They come and they go. You may learn new patterns, you may learn new strategies, and then the second you go to implement them, they're dead for like a year. That's how it works. And you're like, oh, that strategy sucks. And yeah, it does suck, but just at the time. So through always trying to find out what's running, I learned new patterns and created my own patterns. Didn't create my own patterns, but traded my own patterns. Does that make sense? And they became the most powerful to me, are all my own patterns. Why? Because they're my own. I found them, I traded them, I have experience in them. It's not what everyone else does, which we keep talking about. They're my fucking patterns. It's not the patterns that you read in a book. Okay? So this is what I'm trying to do, right? Catalyst, pattern. We have several others actually. Catalyst, pattern. Time of day. Shit, time of day is important. Time of day. You know, is it midday runners? I don't like trading midday, but if I'm only seeing midday runners, you best believe I'm gonna be around like going into midday. Maybe trying to build positions on the morning dips to take into midday. It changes how I trade. You know, instead of just taking it all off in high day in the morning, if I'm looking for a single, I may reload on the dip and look for you know, be looking for a midday push to sell into, okay? Instead of all the people who are just chasing it midday, randomly. I already know that the pattern recently has been gap and grab, maybe morning spike consolidation, and then midday huge runs, okay? That was happening a couple months ago. If that's the case, I was like not even really trading that much in the morning necessarily, and waiting for these things to shake out so I could potentially get a midday trade, right? That lasted like a week, and then I was like done with it because it stopped. So this is always going through my head. There are more parameters too. We don't have too much time, but in a nutshell, that's what I'm looking at. What is the makeup of this stock? And then you keep it really, really simple. I don't overcomplicate it. I'm not getting valuations. I don't care. All right? I'm just trying to find the next sympathy play. That's it. I'm trying to find the next runner. And so instead of dwelling on the runner that's running, I'm going to find the next one. I'm going to get good risk reward. And if I can't get it there, then I don't trade it. Okay? So that's it. That's for small cap. All right? Are there runners? If there haven't been big runners, I'm not expecting it until we get one. So I'm going to lay off and go back into singles mode, small losses, small gains, grind it out. If there are, what the hell's running? Figure it out. Break the stock down into little pieces that you can then take to your scan, all right, which is next. Okay? Everyone got that? Anyone need a picture? Everyone good? Most of you, we've been through this, right? But I love doing it. I love doing this because it reinforces to me what my process is. I have to remind myself over and over. So far, I haven't even gotten to a scan yet. So far, we're literally just talking about what's going through my head. You know, when I get to the scan, it's in the morning. Okay. So, now we get to my scan. What the hell? I get to my scan, but I have a preconceived idea of what the markets are going to give me today. By now, already. Usually I have a preconceived idea. Based on the overall markets, based on small cap, right? No runners? Okay, I'm not expecting runners. Runners? I am. If they are, I've already figured out what I think will run tomorrow. Does that make sense? I don't know what's going to run tomorrow, but this formula fucking works for me, man. You know, my eyes are always in the right place. Not always, but most of the time they're in the ballpark, like very close, okay? And that's because of the stuff I do before the scan, not even the scan. It's just literally those thoughts all day. Always be reminding yourself, what are the overall markets doing? How are they affecting what you trade?
Do you run the scan like at the end of the market or the day after?
I run it all day, and then I check it before I go to sleep, and then first thing in the morning I throw it up. My scan runs all day.
How often do you stick to your plan that you had the day before?
What's that?
How often do you I mean, the day before you have a plan? If I would like to start to try this at this level, let's sell at this level. Does it happen?
That happens in the morning, most of the time. That's pre-market stuff for me because I'm always trading first green days. I'm always trading new gappers, new runners, because the volume comes in and then it's fucking gone. And that thing's gonna, you're a bag holder if you're still trading it. Most of the time with small cap, if I didn't hit my trade and get in and out like I'm supposed to, the longer you're holding it, the longer you're just gonna be a bag holder, straight up. But we'll get to that. So I get to the scan with a preconceived notion of how aggressive I'm gonna be today. When I get to my scan, it can change things, okay? Scan, we already went through my parameters, you know, pre-market, very low volume, okay? So I'll get to my scan, I put on my low volume scan. It's pretty much no parameters except for less, greater than or equal to $50K volume. Like I said, a lot of you probably have cars more expensive than the dollar volume I'm looking to go into a stock for me to see it. It's not a lot, okay? But it's enough for me to see first who's interested in what. It's the first people that are buying anything, okay? That's for pre-market, and then what am I looking for in my scan? Everything I just said, okay? That's all I am doing. I am getting to my scan, and I am using the information that I just gave you. What do I think is run, or no, not what do I think, what do I know has ran? And then I use that to find what may potentially run today, okay? right? So if it's AI plays, if AI is the big thing, you're going to see me up in AI, and I'm going to be trying to find the right price ranges, and whatever's running, I'm going to try to duplicate that. We talk about it all the time. Ears and eyes run together. Cats and pets and dogs. Those run together. Used to, you know. And it doesn't. It really seems too stupid to be true, but it's true, right? And I have found that when I overcomplicate things in terms of trying to find the next runner, it doesn't work. The more simple I can keep it. What was the price range? What was the sector? What was the time of day? What was the catalyst? That good stuff, just the very basic stuff. What was the float? Forgot about the float and share count, okay? That also plays. Is it low float? Sometimes it's not low floats. Sometimes it's just big ass floats running for some reason. Sometimes it's just big ass float Chinese stocks running. And those usually go for a day or two, you know? And as you trade these sectors and as you go through the ebbs and flows, you'll start to get a better feel for different sectors and good stuff like that. But that's all I'm doing. I go to the scan, and if I can find something, if there are runners, I'm trying to match up that runner, right? That's all I'm doing. I'm just trying to find any similarities. Are there any similarities whatsoever? It could be the name. It could be anything. It could be any similarities I find that get me interested in something on my scan the next day. But I go into the scan looking for something particular. Like this morning, for example. Didn't really see much. Hold on. I can't let this, my battery's running low, it says. That's not plugged, yeah, all the way.